Hello for the 12th week in Ordinary Time. We're using all three readings as far as the Matthew's Gospel 10, and Jeremiah, and the middle reading. And I titled this One Man, Adam, One Woman, Eve, and One Man, Jesus the Christ. Well, it starts out like this. We'll get to the one and maybe. It starts out like this. This week I read an interesting introduction, and it's relative to what's going on right now. It's we're at war, or Russia's at war with the Ukrainians. And this is a little incident. A Ukrainian woman in one of the attacked cities, maybe Kiev or whatever, she met a Russian soldier and she gave him a gift. And she said, here. And it was an envelope filled with sunflower seeds. Thank you, or whatever he said in Russian. Spasiba, I think. And she says, here, take this gift. Because when we kill you here in the Ukrainian territory, which you're invading, these seeds will sprout up from your grave and we'll have flowers. Is that a great attitude? Here I thought this woman is so good, but what would you say? And I start out with one of the readings of the book of Jeremiah, where Jeremiah is talking about everybody's attacking him on every side, and they're out to kill him. And he prays to God that it's impossible. What you're telling me to tell them, in a way, it's impossible. And he seeks God's help of killing his enemies and thanking God and gloating over them. There's one little sentence in there where he says, my persecutors will stumble, they will not triumph. O Lord, let me witness the vengeance you take on them. Is that what it's all about? We do know that Jeremiah changed drastically, and he took on a different feeling, a different knowledge and insight into what God was preaching him or teaching him to preach as one of his favorite prophets, Jeremiah. As he would say. What would you say? Well, what would Jesus say? Or what did Jesus say? I don't know all the exact words and all the exact quotes, but I think Jesus said the terrible opposite of Jeremiah and the attitudinal terrible opposite than the Ukrainian woman. Hatred, vengeance, violence. I think Jesus' insight is it is more harmful to the perpetrator often than it is to the victim or the victims. It's the opposite model of what Jesus was preaching and teaching. Not to kill and not to have vengeance, but to forgive or to talk or to stop fighting or try to work out and work toward peace. I think that's the message of Jesus. You know, don't let the enemy inhabit and control you in your head the way the enemies did to Jeremiah, to the way the enemies have done throughout the history of the world. Yeah, the history of the world. In the history of the world, you know, we started out from the love of God. We started out with we're like supposed to be like the image of God, and we're all supposed to love one another and love God with our whole heart, mind, and soul. But that was Jesus later. But right in the very beginning, we're supposed to be like God, like He told them and showed them in the book of Genesis, Adam and Eve. That story. Supposed to be, but it isn't, and it hasn't been. And I think the history of war in the world is like a teeter totter and a seesaw, teeter totter. You know, one group has all the power over another group has the lesser power or feudal power, and the power of the one goes like this and conquers the one who goes to the bottom with the weight and the power. And then the ones at the top, they start to get the power and they get the weight and they fight back and then they take over the one and then it goes the other way. And the history of humanity is we've been going like this for thousands and thousands of years. And war is not the answer. War is not the answer, period. And maybe war will be around until the end of things. Maybe we'll not only blow up our enemy, we might even blow up or ruin our earth. Is that going to be the end? Is it going to be that cataclysmic end that we used to think about the end of the world? And we don't know when the end will be, but we do know that it will end. And that's the message of Jesus. It will end at the end, but do not know when. It's called the second coming. It's called what Jesus called it over and over again, the kingdom of God. Matthew, when he was quoting Jesus, he changed one of those words. He didn't want to say the word God, like many of the other Jews after the exile. He said the kingdom of heaven. So it will be changed, and there will be an end, and there will be this new, what Jesus taught, loving one another, loving the Lord your God with your whole heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbors as much as you love yourself. And by golly, maybe you need to start loving yourself. Then you might need to make another jump and love your neighbors. And then maybe make the final jump in loving Jesus or loving God. Isn't that interesting? Jesus is his message. And the message of Jesus is the recipe for the coming of the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven. Think about it. Pray about it. Act upon it. Have a good day.